The Galactic Council's archives would later record it as the greatest miscalculation in interstellar history. Ambassador Zektor of the Hegemony had dismissed the human delegation with a wave of his crystalline appendage, his translator rendering his contempt in perfect standard. Tourism permits only. These primitives may observe our greatness, but they shall contribute nothing to galactic civilization. The humans had smiled politely, accepted their bright yellow visitor badges, and dispersed across known space with their characteristic enthusiasm. They photographed monuments, sampled local cuisines, and purchased an embarrassing quantity of souvenirs. The galaxy's established powers, the calculating hegemony, the proud Zephyrian Empire, and the ancient Void Collective, watched with amused tolerance as these newcomers gawked at their achievements. Captain Sarah? Chen had been among those early tourists, leading the civilian vessel Wanderlust on what appeared to be a simple cultural exchange mission to Hegemony Prime. She marveled at their quantum foundries, asked endless questions about their production methods, and even requested detailed technical specifications for educational purposes back home. The Hegemony's engineers, flattered by such genuine interest, gladly shared their knowledge with these harmless primitives. What they failed to notice was how Chen's seemingly innocent inquiries followed a pattern. She didn't just ask about the foundries, she wanted to know about supply chains, resource dependencies, and logistical networks. Her tourist curiosity about orbital defense platforms included detailed questions about power consumption, maintenance schedules, and communication protocols. Dr. James Morrison, meanwhile, was conducting anthropological research on Zephyrian military traditions. The warrior culture species welcomed his respectful interest in their ancient battle codes and strategic philosophies. They demonstrated their formations, explained their command structures, and proudly shared the location of every monument to their greatest victories. Morrison recorded everything with academic fervor, occasionally requesting clarification on tactical doctrines that had shaped their empire for millennia. On the far rim, Professor Elena Vasquez was studying void collective meditation techniques with apparent spiritual devotion. The energy-based entities found her dedication inspiring, as she spent months learning their consciousness-linking methods and the harmonic frequencies that synchronized their hive mind networks. She was particularly interested in understanding their decision-making processes and the psychic relay stations that connected their vast territories. For 3 standard years, humans scattered across the galaxy as observers, students, and admirers. They attended conferences, enrolled in universities, and formed friendships with alien colleagues. They were universally regarded as enthusiastic, but ultimately irrelevant, a species that might someday evolve beyond their primitive origins, but posed no current threat to the established order. The misconception shattered when the humans returned. They came not as tourists, but as a coordinated storm that struck every front simultaneously. The transformation was so complete that initial reports were dismissed as sensor malfunctions or elaborate hoaxes. Captain Chen's Wanderlust had been replaced by the dreadnought Reckoning, leading a fleet that materialized at the edge of hegemony space with impossible stealth. Their ships moved with predatory precision, exploiting every weakness Chen had identified during her sightseeing. The humans had taken hegemony technology and evolved it beyond recognition. Quantum foundries powered by exotic matter manipulation, weapons that turned the enemy's own defensive systems against them. The hegemony's perfectly logical battle formations crumbled as the humans demonstrated they had learned not just how to copy superior technology, but how to innovate beyond it. Admiral Chen's voice cut through their communications with surgical clarity. "You showed us your strengths. We studied them, improved them, and turned them into weapons. Thank you for the education." Simultaneously, Dr. Morrison's fleet struck at the heart of Zephyrian space. But these weren't the respectful anthropologists who had studied their military traditions. These were predators who had dissected every aspect of Zephyrian warfare and found the flaws in millennia of tactical doctrine. The proud warrior species found their own strategies turned against them with ruthless efficiency. The humans fought with cold calculation that shattered the Zephyrians' honor-bound approach to combat. They struck at supply lines rather than engaging in glorious battle, used psychological warfare to exploit cultural taboos, and demonstrated that they had learned the Zephyrian art of war only to transcend it entirely. Most terrifying of all was Professor Vasquez's assault on the Void Collective. The energy beings discovered that their new students had not simply learned their consciousness-linking techniques, they had weaponized them. Human neural networks, enhanced by quantum processing, could interface with collective frequencies and introduce chaotic patterns that disrupted their hive-mind coordination. Vasquez's voice resonated through their psychic networks with devastating calm. "You taught us to touch minds across the void. We learned to reach into your thoughts and turn them against you." The three galactic powers, who had maintained an uneasy balance for centuries, found themselves simultaneously facing extinction. The humans had spent 3 years as tourists, absorbing everything the galaxy had to offer. Now they returned as evolutionary apex predators who had taken the best of every civilization and forged it into something unprecedented. The war lasted exactly 47 standard days. When it ended, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session aboard the human flagship Evolution. Ambassador Zektar, his crystalline form dimmed with defeat, transmitted his species' unconditional surrender. Admiral Sarah Chen, now bearing the title of Supreme Commander of Terran Forces, addressed the assembled delegates with the same polite smile she had worn as a tourist. "We appreciate the educational opportunities you provided. Rest assured, as the new governing authority, we'll ensure that future cultural exchanges are more equitable." The galaxy had learned its lesson: never mistake a human's curiosity for harmlessness. They had labeled humanity as mere sightseers, only to discover that humans were something far more dangerous. Students who learned not just to imitate, but to transcend their teachers. In the end, the greatest predators in the galaxy were those who came in peace, watched everything, and returned as gods of war.